Okay, so we're at Karen Hill's house. We pulled a shingle. State Farm identified it as Certainty Landmark and Colonial Slate. We have one of those here. And we've got a west slope completely approved and one shingle on the front and the back, so the north and the south slopes of the roof. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick video. We're going to install this shingle and see what the results of this repair are to make sure that we can actually make these repairs without causing more damage to the property, the roof, etc. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start with unsealing some shingles. I'm going to try to keep my bar kind of diagonal to attack the seal versus trying to get up underneath the shingle. And so I'm just going to start by unsealing these. So it not giving me a terrible amount of resistance. There's some. So now we're unsealed here. Okay, so there's no material transfer really here. And you can see all these nails are, they're a little crooked, so they should be flush, but they're properly installed as far as how far down they are. They're not overdriven. So that's something, we just want to bring up and consider. It's just so everyone knows I'm going to shoot here because I don't want to get too close to this box. Okay, 2 for 2, not bad way to start. I'm only going to lift the shingle high enough to see the nail, and I'm not going to be overly exaggerating lifting this one up below to get to that nail. So again, trying to avoid causing damage to the shingle is the goal. That nail pulled through the shingle. And as we did point out, these fasteners are not overdriven, so you can see now there is a hole here. So if that's going to start to happen, then that's going to affect some of these other shingles as well. So then that's our first course. So now we're going to unseal the next row up and pull those out. Looks like this one was already unsealed. All these nails are starting to try to pull through these shingles, so that's a problem. That one started to pull through, but we're able to save it. Okay, so should be all our nails. Our shingle should come willingly now. Oh, missed one. Alright, so now our shingle will come out. Alright, so did have some nails blow out, and so you can see how big these holes are comparative to where they didn't. So if that's happening, it's going to be similar damages on the shingles that we're not affecting. So now you're going to have these big holes in the shingle where water can work its way back under. under the shingles and into the roofing system and cause a leak in the homeowner's house, which they already have one. We're trying to stop from the tree that fell on the house. No large amount of material transfer. Actually, here's some right here. So you can see this is a chunk of the shingle that's still remaining on the roof. And then this is a missing chunk from this shingle here. So when you have damages like that, it makes it very difficult for the shingle to seal back down. A lot of times it won't. And then that's where you'll have your damage on your, like from your next storm or whatever that is. So get this lined up, and so shingle, I mean, they're not spaced out the same on the rest of the roof. They're all kind of close and butted up. So if I slide this one way or the other, I'm gonna end up with this gap here. So when I do these repairs, you're gonna have gaps. So we'll split that gap. There should be some sort of a gap there, but that looks like a little bit much. And again, you know, the color difference is visible. There's more red in the existing shingles than on this one. You can see red peppered throughout the roof, but on this shingle you barely see any of this at all. So maybe the manufacturer changed the color pattern at some point, so it does not look like a physical match to me, but due to that difference in length, which may be install, but also the color. So now we're just gonna use our roof snake here to install these nails. State Farm likes contractors to use a roof snake when possible. A lot of times you don't want to do it on the laminate shingle, but if it's possible and we can reduce the probability of damage, we'll do it. If we notice it's starting to fail, then I'm just gonna switch back to holding the shingle up and using a hammer. So get started here. So grab a nail. Try to use some of these existing nail holes here. And special note here, we're using the roof snake to prevent creasing and delamination of the shingle, but we can already see it right here with this dragon tooth, how this is bending. And that was literally just from putting the roof snake in and using it. So hopefully the roof snake will work out for us, because otherwise we're going to end up with a lot of subsequent damage trying to use a different tool, which again, is something we're trying to avoid doing. Same thing on this one, just putting the roof snake in. You can see this separation occurring. These shingles down here are not separated, right? They're not separated even here, but I bet when I get that roof snake in here, these teeth start to come loose like this one did. And that is definitely subsequent damage to the roof. But we'll review the final takedown when we're done. Get these nails in for you real quick. Again, try to keep that snake flush. You can sometimes damage the shingles below because you're pounding here, and this is taking some of that hit. That's the only way to get them flush. So you can see how we've hit this shingle up and shoot it up with the bottom of the tool. The same thing over here. That was probably me just trying to lift it up to look. Again, very brittle shingle, very hard to manipulate. As you saw when I pulled it off, it basically didn't even want to bend. There's more of that separation of the shingle occurring here. You got more lamination, or that's the same one from before. So now we're going to move down a row. Won't be able to use these existing nail holes, but should be able to get it close here. One problem with a roof snake is sometimes you'll end up with a nail and it bends. So trash that nail and grab a new one. I have a couple of nails that are a little bit longer than I want them to be, but right here. Again, I'm just lifting as much as I need to get a nail in here. We're seeing that separation occurring here and here already, whereas it wasn't a minute ago when we showed you. Might be able to save that one. So again, the roof snake, sometimes you get these nails that bend when you're trying to put them in. Okay, cool. Here, I'll trade you. All right, so repairs completed. Sorry for the timeline there. First couple of things to note. We did say we had these nail holes that had blown out over here. Oops, sorry for covering the camera there. That's my bad. So we did end up having these. I think you were holding it this way the whole time. We did have some blowouts with the nail holes here. So that's still stuff that is going to be present on these shingles here. So now we've got some holes in the roof. There was some material transfer as well that's going to kind of prohibit the shingle from sealing back down properly. Again, when we're just lifting the shingle, we can already see the delamination occurring here on this red tab. And so that's now present, and that's now functionally damaged across all the shingles that we manipulated. We can see some legit creasing right here on this shingle from where we were having to install this nail. And basically just a couple impact marks where the roof snake chewed up those shingles, which had we not used, we probably would have caused more damage. So again, one more thing, final add-on, I guess, would just be if I rub the shingles that I haven't manipulated at all, I don't see a lot of granule loss. I don't hear it either. I come over here to these shingles that we've manipulated, where you can already see some of these crease lines forming, some of these other damages that we caused. So those granules, much looser. You can see and hear the difference. So these shingles are now prematurely going to age. These will be the next ones that have potential wind damage to them or wind-driven rain, which would cause a leak into this home, which again is something we're trying to stop. We did this repair on the back slope. I felt like these shingles would be a little warmer and would tolerate the repair better. And I believe if we were to perform this repair on the north slope, it would actually go horribly worse. So for these reasons, we deemed the roof to not be repairable legally. Again, you can see that shingle sticking out like a sore thumb. So I don't believe that that's a mismatch, or I don't believe that that is a match legally, but more importantly, the shingles just did not survive being manipulated for the repair. Another thing to note, I'll wrap up here, this entire slope has been paid for. So all these cap shingles are gonna have to be either removed and replaced or manipulated. We're also gonna have to wrap the felt 4 to 6 inches under the adjacent slope. So I've got to take this felt up and over and behind these shingles right here. Right here. So it's got to go up and over 4 to 6 inches. So now, am I manipulating these box vents? I would think that I am. So that would be an issue with our scope of work. But also, if we've already proven that the shingles are not going to tolerate a repair, how are we going to be able to manipulate any of this without having to perform extensive repairs on each of these adjacent slopes? So just something to think about from the building side. And again, this is Jared with R3. Thank you.